Now, we've already learned about mitosis. And the thing about mitosis is that there's two reasons why we undergo mitosis. When we are healing or when we are growing. Those are the two main ones. We're healing or we're growing. So our body makes identical copies of cells. If you get a cut on your skin, it's going to make identical copies of skin cells, and it's going to make a nice little scab and then heal that skin over. If you are growing, it's going to make more bone, more muscle, so that you can stretch out, right? Now, mitosis occurs in every cell of your body. And so we call those body cells somatic cells. Somatic cells are going to be everything but your sperm or egg if you are male or female. Now, in meiosis, this is how we produce gametes, meaning this is how we make the sperm and the egg so that they can come together and make a baby. So we can't talk about genetics, and we can't talk about, well, is this baby going to have green eyes or is it going to have brown eyes? Is it going to have a straight hairline or a widow's peak? Is it going to have attached earlobes or detached earlobes? Well, we don't know, because we don't know how the sperm and egg came to be. So we're going to talk about those two things first. We're going to watch the amoebas tomorrow just for the sake of trying to get through the PowerPoint. Now, today is a lecture day. I didn't keep you long yesterday, and I won't keep you long tomorrow, but I will expect you to stay for the duration of the lecture, just because I'm throwing a bunch of information your way. So meiosis is a reduction division in which the number of chromosomes per cell is cut in half through the separation of the homologous chromosomes in a diploid cell. Wait a minute, what just happened? What did I even say just now, right? So let's break things down. If I reduce the price of cost in something, that means I'm going to lower the price. And if I divide it, I'm separating. So it's a reduction division because I take the number of chromosomes and I cut it in half by separating the parent's chromosomes. As humans, we have a total of 46 chromosomes in every cell in our body. Again, that's a body cell, somatic cell. Our gametes, our sex cells, are going to have half of the genetic information. So when you actually have a baby, you only give them half of your genetic code. Is it always going to be the same half that you give? No. And this is why you can have children with the same person, and all of your children can look different from one another, because you don't give the exact half every single time. So this is why we're talking about meiosis. Now, this is not an equal division. Specifically in females, it is far from equal. And so we're going to talk about those things as we go on. From here on out, we're going to refer to a somatic cell, which is a body cell, as a diploid. The prefix di pertains to the number 2, and ploid is talking about the number of sets of chromosomes. Your haploids are going to have half of the number of sets of chromosomes. And so, let's see, there's a chart. Jenna, what about twins? Okay, so twins are a little conundrum of their own, because if you are identical twins, you originated from the same sperm and the same egg, and you are genetically identical, or so we thought. New research is showing that when we are coding for proteins, there are actually differences in identical twins. So even though they came from the same sperm and egg, they're not truly identical. And if you have friends that are identical twins, you know how to tell them apart, because they are not identical. They're very similar, but they're not carbon copies of one another. If you are fraternal twins, you came from different eggs and different sperm, and you just were carried at the same time. So you can actually be a male and a female. So my godchildren, right? They're twins, but they're not identical, far from it. Now, let's talk about these homologous chromosomes. We know that a chromosome is our DNA, right? That's where DNA is basically twisted up into these histone proteins that make up these little chromosomes. And homologous chromosomes are basically mom's DNA matched up with dad's DNA. And because we're all human, we all carry the same traits in the same chromosome number. So we have 23 pairs I say 23 pairs for a total of 46. You can only give half of that, so we give 23 chromosomes to our children. Mom's number 1 matches up with dad's number 1. If this is coding for hairline, mom has a widow's peak, dad doesn't. Which one's dominant, which one's recessive? That's going to be the probability of it passing on to their child, right? Mom has attached earlobes, dad has detached earlobes, so that's on number 7. So dad's number 7 matches up with mom's number 7. They exchange information, they go from there. So this happens for all 23 pairs. Now, diploid, a cell, so this is a cell that contains both sets of homologous chromosomes. We're going to use the symbol 2N to represent the diploid. Again, di means 2, ploid means number of sets of chromosomes. So if you're a diploid, you have 2 sets. If you're a haploid, you have 1 set. And if you're polyploid, you have multiple sets. Now, somatic cells are going to all be diploid cells. So this is your skin cell, your blood cells, your muscle, your your bone marrow, your liver, your teeth. These are all going to be made up of body cells. In humans, we are going to have a total chromosome count of 46. So 2N equals 46. Therefore, our haploid cells, 1N is going to equal 23. Haploid refers to half. If 2N equals 46, half of that, 1N equals 23. And these are only going to be our gametes. So diploids are all the body cells, haploids are the gametes. And so you look at this picture, I picked this picture because you have mom giving 23, dad giving 23. When they come together and make the baby, that'll give the baby the total of 46 that it needs. Now, the steps of meiosis. Meiosis usually involves 2 distinct divisions. We have meiosis 1, we have meiosis 2. By the end of meiosis 2, we will have taken that 1 diploid, that 2N, and we will have split it into 4 haploids, 4 1Ns. So if you think about your fingers and think about your 4 fingers, this is the original and we split it in half. Can you split your fingers in half? Sure. Can you split them in half once again? Sure. How many fingers did you end up with? 4. So when we go through meiosis, we're going to go through meiosis 1, splits in half. We're going to go through meiosis 2. Those have split in half again. So you end up with 4. Like mitosis, meiosis is going to begin with interphase. Same steps apply that you've learned before. G1, you grow. S, you replicate, make a copy. G2, you finish growth, check for error. We then move on into prophase. Now, there is a trick to identifying which cell of the cell cycle you're in. For example, if you only see one cell, you're in meiosis 1. Here, you know you're in prophase 1 because you can see the chromosomes, you can see the X's, you see that your nucleus has dissolved, and you can see that the spindle fibers are forming. Mom and dad's homologous chromosomes are finally meeting with one another, and they're going to exchange information by forming a tetrad. Now, let me show you here kind of how that tetrad works. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. Are we okay with that? So that is why they call the 2 homologous chromosomes meeting a tetrad. 1, 2, 3. You have your paternal and your maternal. For those of you that struggle with what those words mean, maternal mama, paternal papa. They touch, and this process of crossing over takes place. Where they touch, they exchange information. So what you actually end up with is going to be new DNA. That is partially your father's and partially your mother's, and vice versa. Now, because this produces chromosomes that are with different combinations, because they can touch both sister chromatids, or they can touch just barely, or they can touch a lot, it doesn't matter, right? As long as they touch and exchange, crossing over has taken place. And because crossing over is random, crossing over allows for genetic variation in the species. Even if you have the same mom and dad, you are not going to be carbon copies, right, from your siblings, even if they share the same mom and dad. You may look completely different. Now, again, we're in meiosis 1 because there's only one cell pictured here. We know that we're in metaphase 1 because our homologous chromosomes are lined up at the equatorial plate, and so they are lined up in the middle. The spindle fibers, they're like fishing rods. They go ahead and they cast their line, and it attaches to the centromere. Again, it attaches to the center of the homologous chromosome, and it starts to reel it in because our next phase is anaphase, and we're pulling them apart. They're going away from each other. They're going to opposite ends, etc. Now, mom and dad's homologous chromosomes will never be together again. And while they loved each other very deeply, they will only have the memories to take with them. So what you see is you no longer see an X that is all red or an X that is all blue. It now has a new variation of the genetic information because it is a mixture of the two. Here you see a cleavage furrow, and here you see a nuclear membrane reforming. And because there's only one cell, I must be in meiosis 1, telophase 1, and cytokinesis. We are going to get ready to split and finalize our first meiotic division. Once we get done with meiosis 1, we have ended up with 2 haploid cells. Did I divide? Yes. Did I reduce the count? Yes. I went from 2N to 1N. So my reduction division is well on its way. We are going to enter our second meiotic division, so what we're going to bypass is interphase. Interphase does not exist in meiosis 2. So we're going to go interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis. Instead of going back into interphase, we're going to bypass it and go straight into PMAP. Prophase, metaphase, telophase, cytokinesis, right? So 1, 2, there's 2 cells. I must be in meiosis 2. Prophase 2, my nuclear membranes have dissolved. Centrioles are making spindle fibers. I'm ready to go. After prophase, I have M, metaphase. I'm lining up in the middle. You see the chromosomes here lined up in the middle. After M, A, anaphase, I am pulling them apart. How do you know the difference between anaphase 1 and anaphase 2, Miss Gottschalk? Well, sweetheart, you have 2 cells in this picture. And now what you have is sister chromatids as opposed to homologous chromosomes. Meiosis 2. How do I know I'm in meiosis 2? Well, there's 2 cells. How do I know I'm in telophase? Well, there's a cleavage furrow. And there is a nuclear membrane that is starting to form once again. Remember your nucleus. In prophase, you dissolve it. In telophase, you have to bring it back because we are eukaryotic organisms. We have a nucleus, so we have to have a nucleus in all of our cells. And the nucleus must reform before we split and separate. Now, let's talk about money. I like money. You like money. Money makes the world go round. We're going to start off with $20. And we're going to follow the life of this $20. Hayden is going to get $10. You okay with that? Larson is going to get $10. Did I reduce my money? Yes, because 10 is less than 20. Did I divide it equally? Yes, both boys have the same amount of money. All is well. How many times do I divide in meiosis? Once or twice? Well, we have meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, so we must divide twice. This is one division. We got to divide one more time. So Hayden is going to give his $10 to 2 people. So he's going to give Lorenzo 5. He's going to give Nicholas Vance 5. Aiden likes the other Aiden. They're cool. They like each other's names. So he's going to give him 5 because they're name twins. And we're going to give the other 5 to, who's our lucky winner? We're going to give it to Turtle. Are all of these equally divided? Does every single boy have $5? Yes. Did I reduce my money count? Yes, 5 is less than 10. Did I divide once again? Yes, so this is Meiosis 2. Are we okay with meiosis in males? Does this seem easy enough? Well, let me let you in on a little secret. Male gamete formation is an even distribution, meaning I am going to end up with 4 different sperm combinations that are all capable of fertilizing an egg. Every single one of those sperms is mature and ready to go and make a baby. Does anyone want to take a guess how long it takes the male body to make sperm? Any guesses? How long would it take the male body to make a sperm? Nobody? So the male human is able to regenerate their sperm count every 72 hours. So a male can make millions of sperm in 3 days. The moment that he ejaculates a sperm, the sperm count begins all over again, and all he will need is 72 hours to replenish his count, be back and rolling. 3 days, that's it. Because 1 turns into 4, we are exponentially producing male sperm all of the time. And whatever does not exit the body just gets reabsorbed, and we continue to do this process over and over and over and over and over again. A male will be able to produce gametes until the day he dies. So from the moment they enter puberty to the moment that they die, they can have babies. Crazy. Now in females, it doesn't work that way. So let's go back to the money and let's kind of see how this plays out for the girls. Again, I have $20. I'm going to give Addie $15, which means I have $5 to give Sienna. Well, does that necessarily seem fair? No. But did I reduce my count? Is 5 less than 20? Yes. Is 15 less than 20? Yes. So then what's the problem? And actually, you know what? Let's pick numbers that are going to be a little bit more generous from a Scotch shock. I'm going to give Addie $16. And I'll give Sienna 4. Sorry, Sienna. I'm just robbing you blind, girl. Yay, Addie gets an extra $1. Again, is 16 less than 20? Yes. Is 4 less than 20? Yes. Did I have a division? Yes. So meiosis 1 is complete. Well, Sienna is going to take her money and she's going to give half of it to Priscilla and the other half to Victoria. It's going to bother me. Addie is going to take her money and she's going to give $14 to Mackenzie and $2 to Jayla. Is 2 less than 4? Yes. Is 14 less than 16? Yes. So I have gone through meiosis 2. Wait a minute, what's the problem here? Is this even like it was in the boys? Not at all. So what I end up with is this one large egg and these 3 little ones. Guess how long it takes the female to make this egg? Considering it took the male 3 days to make millions. How many days is it going to take for her to make this one egg? What do we think? So here's the deal. The female reproductive system is regulated by hormones. And in order for this egg to mature, its life cycle, if you will, of the egg is approximately 28 days long. In 28 days, in 4 weeks, the female body will have produced a whopping total of 1 egg. In 72 hours, the male was able to make millions. It takes her 28 days to produce 1. The other 3 that don't develop, so my $2 girls, are my polar bodies. This 1 egg is the follicle that will be available to be fertilized. So let's talk about this numbers game. Why would we need millions of sperm for this 1 egg? Well, the human body is resilient. And the female human body has an opening that is extremely acidic. So the moment that half of the sperm come in contact with the vagina, the pH of it will kill them. They're going to die. And half of the survivors are going to die just trying to reach the cervix. And half of those are going to die on the way to the egg. So let's think about this. It's a numbers game. If I only start off with 20 sperm, then 10 die at the moment that they enter the female body. and then the other half died. So I'm at 10 and 5 more died just trying to get to the cervix. And I mean, if I only have 5 sperm to fertilize this one egg, I only have a 20% chance that I might even potentially get pregnant. But if I start off with 1 million and half of them die, I still have 500,000 to work with. Does that make sense? And so because they are only alive, I think the sperm will live for a total of 5 days, I think, on average. And so there's this very small window and they will all start to die. And so if the egg has not ruptured and is ready to be ovulated, or it hasn't ovulated and it's ready to be fertilized, then those sperm die and they never got to do their job. And so therefore the woman does not get pregnant. And because she does not get pregnant, she gets her period every month and we start the cycle all over again. Now, where a male can produce sperm until the day he dies, essentially, the female is born with a set number of eggs. And so therefore, you will eventually run out of eggs, and that's indicative of the change in fertility, which is that's when you go from menstruating into menopause. And so that's when you're no longer able to have babies because you no longer have eggs to fertilize. Okay? So this is from my boy, Nicholas Vance. Meiosis is how we make gametes. Gametes is how we make babies. And now that we know how to make babies, we can start talking about what the babies are going to look like if we know what the parents look like, which is genetics. Okay. Now this video, it came out on Good Morning America. So some of you may have already seen it. It came out like a couple of years ago and it went viral. This kid was going to fail like his college intro to biology course. And so he did it as an extra credit and it blew up. Everyone went crazy over it. Now I had kids memorize the lyrics to it and that's how they learn meiosis. I don't care. I just think it's catchy as heck. And so I always show it to the kids since I've seen it. I mean, I've showed it to the kids and they all liked it. So we're going to watch it. And I want you to pay attention to the actual lyrics because everything that he says is 100% accurate.
Susie on the track. The DNA starts with O1. The RNA reads the other side. Meiosis is the key to making life. Mitosis copy cells about to die. If my genes go left unread, all my cells are dead. If my genes go left unread, all my cells are dead. If my genes go left unread, all my cells are dead. If my genes go left unread, unwind the DNA. Prepper mitosis happens in the interphase. Then we move to prophase. Spindles start to shape. Chromatins condense as the bubble breaks down. Yeah, I'm talking membrane. Metaphase chromatins meet at the heart. Anaphase chromatins are put apart. See the phase moment, your memory will start. Water cell starts to push back apart. Cytokinesis, the cycle is through. That's when cytoplasm is split up into. Meiosis is a lie, except it happens twice. And chromatins are spliced. Please remember this difference is key. Mitosis makes somatic cells. The cells that make up all of me. Separate my sex organs. The half my cells take half of me. Yeah. The DNA starts with O1. The RNA reads the other side. Meiosis is the key to making life. Mitosis copy cells about to die. All my cells are dead. If my genes go left unread, all my cells are dead. Yeah, if my genes go left unread, all my cells are dead. All my cells are dead. Apoptosis, make sure I don't spread.
Howdy.
Mutations are results of genes misread. Transcription, RNA polymerase. Initiates, elongates, then terminates. Translate ribosomal units. Need free amino acids just to do it. Chromosomes made of genes, links the colors of our eyes, and gives us a widow's peak. Oh, meiosis gives us variation, so we're different people. Mitosis helps us grow and replace cells when they get evil. She said, I don't know how the cells divide and help you grow. The DNA starts to unwind. The RNA moves the other side. Meiosis is the key to making lives. Mitosis copy cells about to die. If my
Okay, so y'all get the point. Absolutely everything that he said is everything that we've been covering. I mean, from making proteins to mitosis, we make cells to replace when we're growing or when we're healing. Meiosis is what allows you to have the same parents, but look completely different from your brothers and sisters. And so we are about to go into genetics, which is a whole can of worms. And it gets to be fun because we get to look at each other and look at our families and see what makes us different, what makes us unique, see genes that skip generations and why they skip generations. We get to talk about dominant and recessive traits. So why you and your siblings could potentially all look like mom, and you have to look at mom and dad. So I get to show you a picture of my family, which is like my husband and his brothers, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, because my last name is Gottschalk, right? It's German. But if you look at my husband looks Mexican just like I do, right? His dad is blonde, German, with green eyes, and his mom is Mexican American with dark brown hair, dark brown eyes, and tan skin. And so when it came to the dominant recessive game, she had the dominant genes, and so her kids all look like her. And while the children still carry some of the dad's genes, they're not going to actually be physically expressed. And that's why I was very hopeful that one of my kids would have my green eyes, because my husband carries that gene from his dad. That's all that my father-in-law had to give was green eyes. Now, did it show up in his kids? No, because brown is dominant. But because he carries it, there was a slight probability that between my green eyes and that allele that he carries from his dad, that one of our kids would have the green eyes. And they all have different shades of brown. Now, they're not all as dark as my husband's eyes, but they're not green like mine. But again, this is going to be the conversations that we get to actually talk about and discuss as we're entering genetics. So it's a lecture day. I told y'all it's not one of the best days to kind of sit here, but it is what it is. We get through it. We're going to spend the rest of the week practicing meiosis. So we'll lecture for a little bit. Tomorrow we'll watch the Amoeba Sisters and hope that it all kind of comes together and makes sense. If you are missing assignments, please make sure that you get those submitted. Please make sure that you are talking to me about it so that I know where you're at and I can help you trying to get through this marking period and grade submission on Friday. If you need me, I'm here. Please make sure that you did your Google form for your attendance. Other than that, you guys be good kids. Have a good day.